Video games are great because they can be set in the past, the present, or the future, just like movies or books. Some video games have got the future very wrong. We kind of look back in amusement at their predictions. Some of them, though, seem to really hit the nail on the head. Some games featured events that hadn't happened in real life yet, events that would change the world forever. Did the developers know this? Have any games you've played predicted the future before? Let's find out. My name is Danny Burke. This is the top 10 video games that predicted the future. Starting off at number 10 now, we have Homefront. This game was released by THQ in 2011. It tells the story of resistance fighters in the US battling out against a Korean occupation under a unified Korea. Some people were surprised at just how accurately it seemed to guess a turn of events that really did take place in Korea. Firstly, the coming death of Kim Jong-il, which happened in December 2011, just 9 months after the game came out. They also correctly depicted Kim Jong-un to be the one to succeed him. This may seem fairly obvious to us now, but back then it was still a lot of speculation. Kim Jong-il had 5 children, and nobody was quite sure who would take his place, even though he had already announced Kim Jong-un as his heir apparent. Whether they be predictions or just coincidences, many people wondered if the game's depiction of a unified Korea taking over the US could also be the next thing to come true. Coming at number 9 now, we have Command & Conquer Red Alert 2. This RTS game was released by EA in October 2000. The game was a huge success and sold very well. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary for a while. Then, less than a year after its release, the September 11th attacks happened. Afterwards, people went back to the game and noticed that the cover artwork had a disturbing resemblance to the actual attacks that took place. There, you can see a plane flying right towards one of the Twin Towers as explosions go off everywhere. EA scrambled to release a new version of the cover art. The plane heading towards the towers was replaced with a US flag and a mushroom cloud. EA even offered people who owned the old version to exchange it for a new one. Now, they did still keep the Twin Towers in the actual game as part of the campaign. Many people were creeped out by the sight of the towers, explosions, and a plane that was released just months before it actually happened. Next up at number 8 now, we have the Human Genome Project. Some of you guys may have heard of these Civilization games. They're hugely popular and have been for a while. I myself have probably lost days of my life to them. Well, they're all the brainchild of game developer Sid Meier's. He didn't just make Civilization though, he was also responsible for Alpha Centauri. It was released in 1999 and featured a tech tree where players could progress a space colony through scientific projects to gain permanent stat upgrades. One of these was called the Human Genome Project. The idea was that once your civilization had mapped out the sequence of human DNA, it would unlock great potential in medicine and our understanding of genes. At the time, many players thought this was just a quirky game gimmick, but 4 years after the game's release, the international scientific community announced they had mapped the human genome in real life with the help of people all over the world. Now, they had first started it in 1990, but it took 13 years for them to complete it. Some people say that Alpha Centauri predicted the project's successful completion and the impact it would have on science. Next up at number 7 now, we have Madden. Madden is the extremely popular American football game by EA. A new one is released each and every year with the aim of improving on what came before. One of the things that EA strives towards is realism. Realism in players by making them as fast, strong, and skilled as they are in real life, and realism in teams by giving them realistic results against other teams. One sign that they have succeeded is the game's ability to predict the outcome of the Super Bowl. For the last 10 Super Bowls, the game has been set up to simulate each game before it happens. Using this, EA have successfully predicted the outcome of the Super Bowl 8 times out of the last 10. 80% is very good. If bettors wanted a system to help them when it comes to the Super Bowl, it's strange to think that Madden might actually be their best option. Moving on to number 6 now, we have Ghost Recon. When Russia invaded Georgia in 2008, it shocked many people all over the world. The conflict lasted for 5 days until a ceasefire was agreed upon. Some people who might not have been surprised though were fans of Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon. The 2001 game features ultra-nationalist Russians trying to take over Georgia with the help of rebels. The game was also set in 2008, the exact same year that something very similar happened. In the game, the US is alarmed by what's happening and deploys the Ghosts, a special force unit, into Georgia to stop the Russians. They end up taking the fight all the way to Moscow itself. Now, granted, that's not how the real events actually played out. Like I said earlier, the conflict was just 5 days and did not involve any special US forces, at least none that we know of. Still, many people were surprised that the game included a conflict and a year that matched up so closely with real life events. Some people say they knew something we didn't. didn't. Others say this was just a coincidence. What do you guys think? Coming at number 5 now, we have Pacman. For as long as there have been video games, there have been critics saying that they leave a negative impact on children, that video games can affect what they grow up to be. Violent video games create violent people. Not true from everything I've seen, but that's beside the point. The comedian Marcus Bridgestock was once talking about this topic, and he joked that if Pacman had affected us as kids, we'd all be running around in dark rooms, munching pills, and listening to repetitive electronic music. I hate to be the one to explain a joke here, kind of kills it a little bit, but I'm going to for those of you who might be confused. He's referring to the rave scene of the early 90s, which saw many young adults doing exactly what he said, running around in dark rooms, munching pills as in drugs, and listening to repetitive dance music. These people would also have been the perfect age for Pacman in 1980, the year the game was released. It's obviously a light-hearted joke, but some people have latched onto it and truly believe that Pacman either influenced or predicted the rise of the rave scene around the world. Next up at number 4 now, we have Deus Ex. This game is set in 2052. It shows a world that has moved forward to the point of transhumanism, where humans and robots have become intertwined. They might be right about this, they may be wrong, we'll have to find out and see. One prediction that's already come and gone though has creeped out a lot of people. In parts of the game you can see New York City's skyline. A number of famous buildings can be picked out, but interestingly not the 2 twin towers, the World Trade Centers. Now you might think there's nothing strange about this. Every game showing the New York skyline that came out after 9/11 hasn't featured the twin towers. Well, here's the kicker. Deus Ex came out in 2000, a full year before the events of 9/11. Eidos, the game's creators, said the reason they didn't include the twin towers in the game was because of technical limitations in an effort to try and save memory space. The weird thing is though, the reason they gave for this in the game as part of the story was the towers had been destroyed by terrorism. This may just be one very creepy coincidence, but some people believe it was a not so subtle prediction of events to come. Next up at number 3 now, we have Metal Gear Rising. This hack and slash game was released by Konami in 2013. One of the game's characters is a Colorado senator called Stephen Armstrong. He has hopes of becoming president one day. He's not really a good guy by any stretch of the imagination. At one point, he has Raiden, the main character of the series, literally under his foot as he pushes him down into the ground and raves about his twisted vision for the future of America, including his promise to make America great again. You might recognize that line from somewhere. This game came out in 2013, 2 years before Donald Trump even ran for president. Some people say that Metal Gear Rising predicted that someone would rise to power using this phrase. Those who don't like Trump might even go further and say that the character's bully-like nature was a sign of things to come. Of course, this isn't actually the first time that people have used this phrase. I'm pretty sure Ronald Reagan used it at one point, make a country great again. You hear that a lot around the world, but this one seemed to raise a lot of eyebrows. Next up at number 2 now, we have Mercenaries 2. This action-adventure video game was released in 2008. The game's story depicted the Venezuelan president trying to gain control of an American oil platform. Upon the game's release, the real Venezuelan president, Hugo Chavez, was furious at the game makers and America in general. He said that the game was nothing more than American propaganda designed to get support from American citizens for an invasion of Venezuela. In hindsight, this does seem a little bit ridiculous. If a government wanted to earn support for a war from its people, I think it has better tools than a video game. Perhaps his anger was because he thought that people had figured him out, because amazingly, he did exactly what the game said he would do. In 2010, the Venezuelan government decided to seize the assets of US oil rigs there. They took control of 11 drilling rigs that were US owned without any compensation. I wonder if he ever played the video game. And finally, at number 1 now, we have Smash TV. These days, reality TV is everywhere. It's almost hard to imagine a time when there weren't shows like it, but there was. In 1990, a game called Smash TV came out. Characters took part in an extreme game show where they fight for their lives while millions of captivated people watch from home. Think of it like Hunger Games, but for the arcade. Players had to enter life or death fights in an arena, and nobody could leave till the bloody end. Some people look back at this game and think it was quite prophetic. We may not be watching the real-life Hunger Games on our TVs every week, but the internet seems to think that Smash TV really was onto something. In 1990, years before shows like Survivor or The Bachelor were popular on our screens, this game predicted a world of people obsessed with reality shows. Let's hope they got the whole violent Hunger Games prediction thing wrong. Alright guys, that is all I've got for you. What do you think of that? Do you think video games really do have the power to tell the future? Do you want to see us talk about other media forms? What about about movies predicting the future or books predicting the future, it's up to you. You let me know, I'll make it happen. Thanks for watching. As always, guys, my name is Danny Burke, and I will see you all in the next video.